folks. This is Ridin'SoCal, and we're back with you with today's show. And today's show is with, we're going to talk about motorcycle insurance, and we're here with Carl Diamond. Carl, thank you for being here.
You bet, my pleasure.
Carl has been a friend and an industry guy for so many years. We just talked to one of my best friends, Doug Edwards, and myself. We bought our brand new Gold Wings from Carl when he was manager at Long Beach Honda 39 years ago, as we were just saying. That's a while.
That dates us.
Oh boy. Carl, motorcycle insurance. What got you into that form? Because, well, you're into all insurance, right? You're into car insurance too?
Right, primarily motorcycle.
Okay.
It started at Long Beach Honda when we sold bikes.
Really? You had your insurance license back then?
Yes.
Wow.
Had it quite a while. And when we sold a bike, we sometimes had to sell insurance. And it developed into its own specialty.
Sure.
Unfortunately, in 1990, the owner of Long Beach Honda had a stroke, and his family closed the business. And at that time, I took the book of business and started my own agency using the connections and appointments I had. That was 26 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's 10 years before SoCal Triumph opened.
Yep.
Wow. Carl is the insurance agent that we use primarily here at Southern California Motorcycles. And come to one of our events. In fact, we have an event this coming Saturday for the Suzuki grand reopening of our Southern California Suzuki. Are you going to be here on that one?
I don't think I can make it.
Okay, no worries. But you do most of the big events. But
Yes.
we're going to have information for you to contact Carl later on in the show.
Great.
But so lots of years, but primarily motorcycles.
Yes.
Just because you were more of a motorcycle enthusiast, or?
Well, that, and we just had a feel for the motorcycle industry, especially the retail side of it.
Right.
I started selling a lot of insurance to Harley Davidsons back when it was difficult to get insurance for them. And
Now, was that because of high theft, or?
well, back in the 80s,
Was that AMF days?
yes.
Ah.
And also, the insurance companies, they were really suspicious of Harley riders, motorcycles in general. So it was hard to find insurance for bikers. And I started it then and stuck with it. When I started my own agency, I knew most of the salesmen around town, and there was a need for insurance, and I've stuck with it. Our business is primarily through different dealerships,
Sure.
like your own.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Carl, you take care of us. I mean, when it comes to being on the sales floor as a salesperson, and you're trying to close a deal, and you have, it doesn't matter whether it's a young man, a young girl, or anyone who needs insurance, you've got to, if they're financing the motorcycle now, you've got to have insurance right then and there. It's not like a car to where you can promise to get insurance by,
Exactly correct. My staff and myself realize that sometimes when a salesman calls us and says, I have a deal going, this customer needs insurance, there might be a pressure situation. There might be a lot of extenuating circumstances making it difficult on the salesman and the customer and possibly the finance officer. There's a lot going on. My staff recognizes that. We try to make it as smooth and easy as possible. But bottom line is we take each customer on his own individual credits or merits, or
Sure.
the other way, demerits. But we just try to do the very best we can.
Right.
That's how we
Well,
work it.
the insurance industry is well, insurance itself is so important to consider when you're buying a new bike. For instance, many years ago, I remember when I was on the sales floor, I had sold this woman came in and she wanted to buy her son, and they had money, but wanted to buy her son a brand new, oh my gosh, I think it was a Ducati 999,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The motorcycle itself was $18,000, $19,000, right?
even back
But the
then.
insurance for this young man was going to be $4,000 a year.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that unfolded the deal. As soon as they found out.
If you're a motorcycle salesman, you have to be used to it, and it happens where you lose sales because the insurance is so high, which really means the customer is maybe buying the wrong style bike.
Well, explain that. Let's touch
Sure.
on that right there. How different styles of motorcycle. You really touched on something I wanted to talk about. So you have, now our industry is segregated so much into adventure tours and cruisers and touring bikes and sport bikes and naked bikes. What's the difference from an insurance perspective?
From an insurance perspective, there are maybe 3 or 4 big separations in the bike styles. First of all, anything that is considered super sport, any of the full-fairing sport bikes.
Mhm.
Yeah, the GSXRs, Yamaha R1 and R6, Ducati Panigales, they are expensive, even for you and I.
Even the old guys like us.
Even the old guys, it is expensive, and you'd be surprised at how much you have to pay to insure a Panigale $12.99. But if you have a 19 or a 22-year-old that doesn't have a motorcycle license or is just in the process of getting a motorcycle license, buying one of the high-end sport bikes, you're going to get such high insurance rates, unfortunately, that it could blow a sale.
But you've got naked bikes that have darn near the same performance in a lot of cases.
That is correct.
And they're less money?
Well, they are less money. You said the word naked. That means that if you knock a bike over in a garage, you're not going to crack a fairing and cause a claim.
Costs $1,000.
Yeah, you might just bend a handlebar or a clutch lever. So there's a big difference. Standard bikes, even though they have the high-performance motors, and that's a big trend nowadays, are not anywhere near the cost of sport bikes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but insurance rates are based on, they figure out, like let's say the new bike comes out and it's a Yamaha da-da-da, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they look back at their records of, with that kind of bike, the displacement, the style, and everything, they've had this kind of losses,
Right.
right? Is that how they set the insurance rates for that?
Well, in essence, first of all, if an insurance carrier is having heavy losses on sport bikes, they can't just raise the rates on sport bikes
Right.
or
Because
arbitrarily.
they have to be competitive with other manufacturers.
Well, but they have to file with the California Department of Insurance.
Oh, wow.
They got to file those rates and get an approval from the state of California in order to raise rates. So in other words, they have to prove their losses. And it takes about a year to raise the rate or to lower it. California Department of Insurance is probably the toughest Department of Insurance. So whatever California Department of Insurance does, most of the other states follow. But anyhow, if an insurance carrier is having trouble with a certain type of bike, and it's almost always sport bikes, they will file with the state of California to make changes. Now, to more directly answer your question, when a new bike hits the market, then they have to apply a symbol. They have to either call it a sport bike or a standard or a cruiser or a dirt bike. And there they have a little bit of allowance. And some of the new bikes are hybrid sport bikes, naked bikes, like the Versus.
The street triple, the speed triple.
Exactly, yes.
The FZ9s.
Yes, the FZ9s and FZ7s, now the FZ10s. But so they make a determination that they don't have to get a filing with the state. So there it is.
Wow. Now, doesn't age, now does experience come into it, or is it just strictly like age?
Well, the criteria is experience, and generally people give agents give experience as per when they were 16 years old against how old they are now. So if it's 28-year-old, we can give them 12 years experience.
Okay, so you put a certain amount of years in.
Yes, but what's more important is whether they have the motorcycle license or not.
You can get insurance without a motorcycle license?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It costs more.
Wow.
You don't get into the preferred rating brackets unless you have the motorcycle license intact for 3 years.
Wow.
But just having it versus not having it is a big difference.
I didn't even know that was a consideration. I thought,
Oh, yeah.
well, you got to have a motorcycle to legally operate the motorcycle
Oh,
on the
you'd
road.
be surprised. We quote people without motorcycle license every day. Now, there's a couple legitimate reasons for not having a motorcycle license.
Fire away. I'm ready for that one.
Let's say a guy our age
Okay.
is a trucker, and he has licenses for doubles, triples.
His licensing is really
A very high-end
yeah.
commercial license. Well, for him to get a motorcycle license, he has to retest all his endorsements. And it's very, very time-consuming. It takes him off of the job for about
Sure.
a week. So a lot of those guys, they go years and years without a
Fascinating.
license. You know,
until they have to renew.
yeah, yeah. Now, sometimes we get a call where we give a rate. We say, and it's $2,100 a year for you. And they'll say, God, my friend has got the same bike, and we live next door to each other, and he's at $14 a year. And I say, how long has he had the motorcycle license, and how long have you had it? And and there's a difference.
Wow.
It could be a big difference.
Wow. I don't even want to think about it. How long I've had a motorcycle license. 16 years old to 64.
Yeah, I know.
Holy
Me too.
cow.
I know. Where did all the time go?
Boy, oh boy, a lot of riding, a lot of miles.
Yeah, I bet you've been told you had a good time in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, what I can remember.
Yeah. We're very gratified that the off-roads like the Triumph Tiger and
The adventure tours.
yes, the Multistrada and some of these bikes that are not considered sport bikes but got all the performance you could ever want are getting big in the market. Because we can just rate better and give more
Yeah,
reasonable
it's a
rates.
very popular style now.
Yeah.
We see that here at Southern California Motorcycles. We sell quite a few of the
That's
Tigers,
good.
Multistradas, and,
Yeah.
and the Suzukis.
Well, Suzuki's, I know. I mean, there's something. Myself being a representative of the insurance industry, and you're a Suzuki dealer, meaning that you want to sell a lot of GSXRs, and we're charging a fortune to insure them. It's a little bit hinky, but
Well,
we do the best we can.
And that's the key, and that's why we here suggest our customers when they come in to buy a motorcycle and they need insurance, you're of course the name that comes up because you have had the ability, and you still do every day, to help the customer. It's not just about throwing out a big dollar price just because they're in need.
Well, right, and my experience and my roots in motorcycle sales, and yours, I've been able to influence my agents about what a salesman might be going through to sell a bike. And a really good motorcycle salesman can see up front that this 23-year-old is going to be, the insurance is going to break him and might weird the deal. But if he comes in on a GSXR and the salesman is able to put it into his mind that, wow, maybe you should be buying a Monster.
Right.
It'll be 1/3 of the insurance or less, and you'll be just as happy.
And you're right about that. The motorcycle salesman, his job is to educate the customer. You know what I mean? It's to educate the customer on all the things the customer might not be aware of when you're purchasing something.
Well,
Right?
the salesman has to be aware of the insurance requirements
Sure.
because a salesman, when he's getting the customer in the mood to sign his name 100 times and obligate himself to 3, 4, 5 years payments, give us a big down payment, and maybe the kid's working, a regular job.
Sure.
Well, the salesman wants that customer dedicated to that shiny bike sitting there waiting to be ridden. And the last thing that the customer needs to hear is that he can't have it because of insurance.
Sure.
He can't afford the insurance, and then it's a switch. But if the salesman knows up front to open the door to other bikes,
Right.
Might help.
And that's why it really is important for all of our listeners and audience to understand about insurance. Insurance, we've got to have it, and the best thing you do is just stay out of trouble. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
tickets hurt.
Well, we haven't
Not only
even,
are they expensive,
yeah.
but they hurt in the long run.
Well, we haven't even touched on tickets. If you have a young person, 40 or under,
I'm wondering about that too. I
Yeah.
go, well,
let's say you have a person, whether they have a motorcycle license or not, if they have 1, 2, or 3 tickets, they're going to get charged for it. Even one ticket. It used to be 1 ticket and 0 tickets was the same price.
really?
Yeah, not any longer. They charge for each ticket. So tickets are expensive.
Well, you know what? That'll be a good segue into the second half of the program. Right now, we want to take a little break. Thank you, Carl. We're going to be back with everyone. I'm Tom Hicks. This is Ridin'SoCal. We'll be back with you in a couple minutes. Southern California Motorcycles is proud to present the grand reopening of Southern California Suzuki. Join us Saturday, August 6th to see our brand new 2,700 square foot Suzuki showroom and experience why we are the Suzuki enthusiasts dealership. From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can enjoy demo rides, free food, vendors, music, raffle prizes, and plenty of store-wide promotions. We are located at 515 West Lambert Road in Brea. For more information, visit SoCalMotorcycles.com. Well, hello, we're back. I'm Tom Hicks, and this is Ridin'SoCal. I'm here with Carl Diamond. Carl, a couple things we talked about a little bit at the first part of the show. I want to talk about now the tickets part, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I want to ask you about is girls riding motorcycles. Now, when I first started in the industry, it was 0.1%.
Right.
Now it's like 15% and growing exponentially.
I think so.
Now, obviously, from an insurance perspective, that had to take the insurance company by surprise, or the insurance industry by, okay, what do we do?
Well, not really, because we've never been allowed to make any sort of rate differences between a guy and a gal.
Well, that's what I was asking, but there is going to be experience differences. And one of the things that I've noticed from the sales floor is girls tend to make safer riders than guys.
Girls tend to take the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course much more often than guys.
They continue their training.
And I don't know how this sounds, but it seems like they plan out a purchase a little bit better. In other words, they take the training, get their license, they do their shopping, then they get the bike.
Right.
As opposed to somebody who just wildly goes into a shop and I
But
want to
that's
bike
guys.
now.
That's guys.
Yeah.
I know. I've been that way all my
That's
life. And another thing about the girls is you sell a guy a 500cc bike, and he rides it for a few months. He wants a bigger bike.
Yep.
He wants more power. He wants more speed. You sell a girl a 500cc bike, and there's a possibility she'll be happy with that size for the rest of her life.
I have no official studies to that effect, but I think
I've just
that's
kinda
a
seen,
trend. Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that. And girls don't have the testosterone flying through them the way we do. So that's why I was wondering, if anything, I would imagine for a new rider that insurance rates would be cheaper for a female, but then again, you might have the laws that stop.
Oh, no. We can't make a rate differentiation on based on sex.
Wow.
We can based on marital status. Another trend related is wives getting sick of being a passenger and getting their own bike.
Yeah.
And it's great for me because then we're insuring 2 bikes
That's
in
great
one
for us-
family.
great for us, too.
Yeah,
We're
that's
selling
right.
more motorcycles.
That's right. That's right.
So you can't make that determination on sex. So that part's out of it. But let's go back to tickets now.
Mhm.
Tickets are the kiss of death for costing you money. You see those red lights in your rear view mirror, and you can just see dollar signs flying out the window.
Yeah, you have to concentrate when you're riding, and
Or driving, because
Yeah.
really, face it, a ticket's a ticket on your driver's license. So if you get a ticket in your car, it's going to count the same
Yep.
way as if it did on the motorcycle.
Yep. One ticket will generally cost you, but nothing that's gonna be crazy. 2 tickets is gonna take you out of the preferred bracket, and 3 tickets is gonna be a surcharge. Now, when you get a ticket, there's 2 dates. There's the violation date and the conviction date. And I know it's easy to say. Most things are easier said than done. But when you get a ticket, if you can pay it quickly, it gets off your record that much quicker.
But now, isn't the best way to go about it? Now, I don't know if as far as insurance goes, but if you get a ticket, the very first thing is, can I take class and get it wiped off my record,
Right.
right? But you can only do that once a year? Or
Once every 18 months.
once every 18 months.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, can I fight it, and do I have a possibility of winning it?
That's right.
Because from what I have experienced in my life, and haven't got very many tickets, as crazy a rider as I've been, but you want to try to fight it, because you never know when there's a chance the officer might not be able to make the court date.
That is
And
correct.
so you're playing the odds.
Yep.
But they will take that conviction date.
It'll take that much into the future.
Right. So in other words, if you, taking the school, you're going to get out of the ticket.
Mhm.
So that's good. That'll be off your record. You won't have a problem. But fighting it, if you fight it, then you have to take into consideration that'll extend the time that ticket, if you lose, will fall off your record.
Right.
How long does a ticket stay on your record?
Not counting any major tickets, 3 years.
Now, what do you mean major tickets?
Major tickets are anything involving drugs or alcohol,
Okay.
or reckless driving, speeding over 100 miles an hour. So
Which on our motorcycles, most motorcycles will do that without even thinking
you
twice.
can do that in third gear.
Yeah.
Riding a motorcycle takes anybody who has ridden for a while and has a clean record is concentrating on what they're doing. And if they're gonna ring the bike out, they got to do it at the right places.
Well, now let's just talk about this right now, and I've said this a lot of times. Track days. If you have and want to experience, if you have the chance and want to experience the performance capabilities of your motorcycle, go to a track day. Track days, they cost a couple $100, $300. You go out to a racetrack, you get expert education. They've got instructors out there. You have to go through a class. You wear the proper gear. You're all going. It's the safest place that you can possibly experience the performance of your motorcycle. And also, if I'm not mistaken, your insurance covers you on a track day.
On your bike, for physical damage, doesn't cover in a closed course.
It does not cover
No.
closed course.
But I might say,
that.
track days are great. I concur with you completely. They help a lot because they teach you how to brake, and they can help you in any sort of accident avoidance.
How to go around corners.
Exactly. And it's some of the best training there is.
But
your bike's not
See,
going
I
to be
was-
covered, no.
I was, because was there a change? Because I remember many years ago that I was told as long as it's not a competition, the bike would be covered. If
With-
it was a race or a competition, it wasn't covered. But because it's a school, which track days are a school,
Right.
because it was a school, it was covered. What's your take on that?
No, you're right. It used to be your own bikes were not covered in any sort of competition.
Right.
But back then, the competition was like motocross and dirt bike and Barstow to Vegas type of stuff. They changed it to closed course, and that was a
Okay. Now that's a good piece of information for me and all of our listeners and viewers, because I was under a different impression.
Yeah. Now, for instance, my agency, we represent maybe 8 or 9 different carriers, and some of them completely close course, forget about it. Some of them will unofficially say, yeah, we might let a claim slip by, just to avoid any problems and for good public relations. It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, and there's also the gray area of, where'd you go down?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, they've put the bike in the back of the truck and they've taken it home and then taken it to the dealer. I'm certainly not advocating this because that's just simply untruthful and not right.
Sure.
But so I'm sure that there are people out there that have had accident out on the race course and say, no, I did it up on Angela's Crest.
Well, I've been, my agency is 26 years old. We've insured
Probably seen it all.
probably over 50,000 policies.
Wow.
Yeah. And, we've seen a lot.
So Carl, the ins and outs of insurance for what our viewers would like, or our listeners would like to hear. What do they look for?
Well, first of all, if you have any influence on a new rider, get them to take the course and get the license first.
Training. There's no.
That's a big deal. It helps their rates and it helps them stick around. You want to be friends with them for a long time.
Right.
But also, if you have any influence, a young person starting bike, if it can be a Triumph T120 or a Ducati Monster,
Rather than jumping on a 675 Daytona or
Exactly.
or an R6 or something like that.
exactly, like a street 675 is going to be a fraction of the price of a Daytona 675.
But not. Well, it's only a fraction less of the performance.
Right. Yeah, it's about the same performance.
Right.
So if you can get them into a standard or a cruiser or one of the Triumphs, Thruxton or Bonnie, yeah, that's great. You're doing them a great favor.
Well, I just fell in love with the bike. I fell in love with the new T120.
Oh man.
That 1200 Bonneville.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how much fun that is.
I read I think it was a motorcyclist magazine
Bike of the year.
comparison. Yeah, it is a bike of the year.
Okay.
But there was a comparison between the T120, a Harley
Sportster.
a Harley Sportster 48 and 1200,
Right.
and a few other bikes, and it was hands down the best bike there.
I put 600 miles on it in 3. I know we get off on tangents on this show. I put 600 miles on 3 days on it, and it absolutely blew me away. I was going to get an adventure tour. I was looking at the Multistrada or the Tiger, and I wound up getting that bike.
You
because
did.
It was so comfortable, and it did everything so good. I just blew me away.
It's a terrific bike. What color did you buy?
Black.
Yeah, there really
Just for-
shouldn't
just
be
for-
any other color.
Just for the classic.
Yes.
I mean, and it's so wonderful, and we're really getting off on a tangent. It's so wonderful to go riding on that because you'll stop someplace and somebody will come walking around your bike and they'll look at it and go, oh my God, I can't believe the restoration job you've done. What year is it? And you're kind of going, oh, this is 2016. It just blows them away.
Oh, I know it. It's amazing. It's a terrific bike.
But with that said, a newer rider, you're right. Now let's talk about used bikes.
hmm
Now, is it a suggestion that that somebody can, let's say a young man has a bad record, right, and he's got to wait a few years for those tickets to drop off. He got a used bike, and if he can absorb, if it's not financed, of course, if he can absorb the cost of the bike, he only needs to legally get liability insurance. Is
Right.
that still?
Well, that is true. Used bike or any bike, if he owns it free and clear.
Well, he could buy a new one if he owns it free and clear, but yeah.
Yeah. You can get by with just liability, make yourself legal, and that's just way cheap.
That's just bare bones.
Yes. The thing is that clients have to watch is that there's several finance companies out there that will finance you without insurance. And so people are tempted to buy a bike, get the financing, and not get the expensive insurance that will cover the bike. But
That's a tough one.
it's a
But
big
for
problem.
one, state of California, you have to have insurance. or when you get pulled over and you don't have insurance, you get a ticket. Right.
It's one problem after another if you get a ticket for not having FR, financial responsibility.
Right.
But I'm talking about having liability but not having comp and collision.
Well, the
And
problem is, of course, if you go down,
Well-
you've got a messed up motorcycle you can't afford to fix.
that, and if the bike goes away completely,
It's stolen.
yes, the client still owes the money to the finance company,
Absolutely.
and there's no bike to show for it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty terrible, obviously.
So,
Yeah.
the same advice goes, new or used. If you're a new rider or if you're somebody with a bunch of tickets, maybe look at some of the standard bikes that are going to be affordable insurance-wise.
Rather than going until you get your ticket structure down,
Right.
or until you can afford the higher insurance, go for maybe the naked bike rather than the sport bike.
Right. And the irony is not lost on me that the people who can afford expensive insurance rates least, that's who gets those expensive insurance rates. It's
Well-
the younger riders.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I don't ride fast that much anymore. You know what I mean? I like cruising.
Mm-hmm.
Now, cruiser riders tend to have an older guy riding a cruiser is probably the best rate out there, isn't it?
Yeah. Older guy on a cruiser, although some of the cruisers now are getting
Well,
expensive.
look at the new X Diavo from
Oh,
Ducati.
yeah.
Yeah, over 150 horsepower,
Yeah.
and it's a cruiser.
Yeah, we insure it as a cruiser. That's one of the good deals.
That's amazing. Well, Carl, how does someone get a hold of you if it's not through SoCal Motorcycles?
Well, C Diamond Insurance. You could Google C Diamond Insurance.
Is it C. Diamond or C Diamond?
C period Diamond.
C
but
period
either,
Diamond.
Either way, it will get you there. You could talk to most people in the industry. They'll pretty much steer you our direction.
Oh yeah, you definitely are a staple in the southern.
Well-
I know the Southern California community anyway.
I might say that I haven't advertised in about 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, I have zero advertising budget.
But then again, when we hold an event, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday, you know, as a norm, you're all set up, and I'm like, wow, and it's you doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You don't send somebody out.
No, it's when we do an event, it's me, and my staff takes care of business at the office. I don't have a big advertising budget. We're in Long Beach, and you just look up C Diamond Insurance on Long Beach Boulevard.
C period Diamond
That's right,
Insurance.
that's right.
Or you just contact us here at SoCal Motorcycles, and Carl Diamond, you're just a regular name around here.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Carl.
Thank
you
you.
for being on the show.
Okay.
And hopefully everyone's learned a little bit about insurance, because that is a very important step in the ownership of a motorcycle. So now we'll move on a little bit to Southern California motorcycle business. One of the things is we really try to keep you informed. So go at SoCalMotorcycles.com and get on, sign up for our newsletter. We have a email blast that goes out once a week, and it's not just a sales brochure or anything like that. It just talks about all the things that are happening with Southern California motorcycles, all of our different brands, and at upcoming events and bike nights and things like that. So sign up for that, or just look at the website. We try to put all that information on the website too. We do have a big event coming up this weekend. We have we just remodeled our Suzuki dealership here at Southern California Suzuki. And just to explain one thing, each one of our franchises here at Southern California Motorcycles is almost kind of like an independent dealership. And that's one of the things that I worked very hard to make us separate us from the pack of dealers. You have Southern California Triumph, Southern California Suzuki, Southern California Ducati, and they're all under the umbrella name of Southern California Motorcycles. Well, I did that to try to keep the dealerships separate, so that if you're a Triumph enthusiast, you walk into the Triumph dealership, that's all you see. you don't trip over 3 different brands to see the motorcycles that you love the most. So with that said, we have remodeled our Southern California Suzuki dealership into a very big, beautiful dealership, and we're having a big party this coming Saturday. So we're going to have vendors, we're going to have demo rides on Suzuki, which nobody does demo rides on Suzuki. We do them, not only do we do them every day that we're open, but we're going to do a whole bunch of them this coming Saturday in group rides. So with that said, we're also we're going to have free food and music, and it's just going to be typically a fun event that we have here at Southern California Motorcycles. So get on your bike and come out and see us. I'm Tom Hicks. This is Ridin' SoCal. We'll be back with you next week.